All righty, everybody. David Bitan is with us today. I am ecstatic to have David on. David Bitan is the founder and brand president of Bumble Roofing, which is a rapidly growing roofing franchise here in the United States. David founded it back in 2019 in Los Angeles. And you guys had this vision of creating this white glove customer service into an industry that's known for being a little bit outdated or not with the times. And in just a few years, David had grown Bumble from just a local company there in LA to a nationwide franchise brand, which eventually led to them being acquired by Empower Brands in 2023. And so in this episode, we're going to go over a comprehensive look at how David got into the roofing business, how Bumble started, and how you guys scaled into the company that you guys are today.
George, thanks for having me. I'm looking forward to having a conversation, although it sounds from the looks of it like you've already done a lot of research, and I may not have to speak a lot today, so I do appreciate that for sure. But yeah, either way, man, happy to answer any questions.
Of course. We'll get as much out of you as we can. So take us back to the beginning, just for the people who aren't familiar. Before a Bumble Roofing, I mean, you were kind of a 20-something guy in home services, and kind of eventually decided that roofing was the path. Take us back then. How did you get into the space?
Yeah, so I decided to drop out of college back in 2008 after about 7 months. Moved back home to Los Angeles, where I've been grown and raised, with no idea of what plan lies ahead. And through lots of conversations, opening up different job ads, I landed a role as a commission salesperson for a pretty large home remodeling company. So the first chapter of my career, commission sales across several different trades, several different companies, more than I can actually count, which is for a few different reasons. Number one is, unlike today where you can hop on YouTube or Google and chat GPT and learn basically anything, back then you really had to find an expert, somebody that you can work underneath and learn the trade. And so that's really what I was looking for. I was looking for the knowledge, right? I was new into the industry. I was a young kid. I knew how to speak. I knew how to talk to people, which is a very important part of selling any home service. But you also have to know what you're talking about and really make homeowners feel like you are that expert in that field. So hopped around a ton because of that. Second reason is I couldn't really find a place that I can call home. I have, like most people, I have a pretty normal level of human decency and what I'm willing to do and what I'm willing to not do to earn business. And unfortunately, in our field of construction, there are a lot of, call it fraudsters, call it contractors that give us a very bad rep. And so a lot of that was hopping around to really find a place that aligns with my values. So chapter one, 6 years, commission sales, learn the ins and outs as much as I possibly can. In 2013, I had enough of working for the man. I really wanted to build my own dreams by putting in my own energy, my own effort, my own money into something that I could build for the future. And so in 2013, I launched the initial concept was a roofing and solar company called Zeus Solar. Within about 3-4 months, I completely rebranded into American Improvers. So started off as just roofing and solar, focusing on those two trades, rebranded into American Improvers because a lot of my customers would come back and ask me, hey, can you help me out with my bathroom? Can you help me out with my windows? And with the Rolodex of subcontractors and vendors that I had, I'm like, you know what? I have the expertise. Let's just roll everything out. That company, about 3 years in, we're at a $10 million run rate. Had, I think at the peak before I sold that business, 14 in-home salespeople. Felt like I was on top of the world. But I realized about 3 years in that my model is slightly flawed, meaning selling everything under the sun is very difficult to replicate and to teach, right? Learning any trade for that matter, even in today's times with AI and YouTube and all the knowledge that you have on the internet, is very difficult to learn. And so I realized that selling everything in a home is tough on my salespeople. And so I went back, tried to start building playbooks. I didn't have any playbooks or training in place. My training back then was, you're coming underneath my wing for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You're going to shout at me on some appointments. You're going to sit with me in the office. If it's not me, it's the next best sales guy. And then you go out in the field with our price book. And that is not very scalable, right? So when I realized that, I decided to kind of sit down and try to figure out the next move. As I said, selling everything under the sun is tough. Building playbooks for everything under the sun is even tougher. And that's when I realized I need to make some sort of a change. It's either restructure what we're doing. The original thought was, let's take everything we're doing and only focus on energy efficient products. At that time, in Southern California, energy efficiency and making your home energy efficient was just getting kind of cool, and homeowners wanted to see how they could save money on their energy bills. So the focus was going to be roofing, solar, windows, HVAC, and insulation. That was going to be the main focus. We're going to get rid of the kitchen remodels, get rid of bathroom remodels, get rid of outdoor living and everything else. And as I started building out the forecasts and the new marketing plans and all that stuff, my father, who's one of my biggest mentors, comes to me and says, "Hey, David, this sounds like a great plan on paper, and it probably will work, but there's also a chance that everything crashes, right? You built a business that's doing $10 million in revenue. Maybe, just think about it, maybe you should sell the business." And so ultimately, that's what I did. I sold a business in early 2018. It took about 9-10 months off to decide on the next move. Looked at several different industries. Home services originally was not one of them. Later in that year, I went to a CarMax to get my now wife a car. And that's where my mind completely shifted. That's when I said, I'm getting back into home services, and I'm going to offer the same white glove approach that CarMax offers on buying a used car and offering it on a home service trade. And so the next step was, let's figure out what home service trade I want to start selling. I did know that I want to focus on one trade and one trade only. I don't want to sell everything under the sun again. I figured out that that's, to me, that's the only way that you can truly scale and be that expert in the field. So I looked at several different trades, obviously roofing being one of them. I wanted to make sure they fall into a couple of buckets. Number one is I wanted an industry, you mentioned white glove approach. I wanted an industry that was still, and still is, more of a brown glove approach, if you want to think about it that way. And so roofing was part of the top three. Insulation was another one, and then outdoor living was number three. I wanted a product that is a need-based product and not a want or an emotional purchase, as I like to call it. Roofing, people are calling us because they need us. They're not, roofing is not a sexy product. And so that makes it a lot easier to sell. The way I look at it is any customer who calls in is an opportunity to turn into a customer, right? When we were selling way back when in my previous business, kitchen remodels, outdoor patios and gazebos, even flooring for that matter, it's not a need, right? And so it's very hard to assess if this is something that a customer is going to do in the next 30 days or in the next 3 years. Whereas with roofing, I have a leak, my insurance company is going to cancel me, I'm doing a major remodel, I have to replace the roof. You have to get it done. So that's number one. Number two is I wanted a high ticket. You're getting that with roofing. And number three is I didn't want to spend more than 30 days in a home. Obviously, you have some, highly custom projects that take a little bit longer, but overall, the average, roofing project, you're looking at 1 week in and out. And so roofing is what I landed on. The original plan is, how do we make the sales process easier? How do we make the customer experience better? So my main focus initially was technology. I like to think I was one of the only companies across the US. I do know for a fact I was one of maybe two in Southern California that was offering satellite imagery proposals. And that's what we did from day one. I launched a couple of months pre-COVID. COVID lockdowns hit. Just like everybody else, I thought the world was ending, and good luck with the business. Luckily, I was set up for a post-COVID world with our business model. So, post-COVID lockdowns start easing down a little bit in Los Angeles. People still need roofing, right? People may not be thinking about kitchen remodeling, but they're looking for somebody to fix that roof leak or to replace their roof. How are they going to have somebody come out to their home when social distancing is a thing, right? When people are scared to meet with their own family members? Bumble Roofing was the first company in Southern California to fix that issue. And so immediately we're getting customers rolling through the door. I'm doing proposal reviews via Zoom. We're getting satellite imagery. We're measuring the roof via satellite imagery. You realistically do not have to meet with anybody throughout the entire process. It's a project in the outside of your home. So we're replacing your roof. You're paying online. Everything is done digitally. And then the biggest part, again, is that white glove experience, right? What a lot of not just roofing companies, but contractors get wrong in general is that we are not in the roofing business. We're not in the kitchen remodeling business. We're not in the home remodeling business. We are in the service business. That's one of like the main points that I try to drive every single day with my franchisees, with my employees over here at Bumble of LA. And I have it written out really large on our whiteboard in the conference room is we are not a roofing company. We are a customer service company that happens to sell roofing. And when you think about it that way, you change everything, right? What's one of the things that you see that a lot of roofing companies or contractors get wrong? It's the easy things, right? Not just one of the things, but a group of things. It's the easy things that you should get right? Answering an email in time, cleaning up after you finish on a job site, sending a proposal the day after you leave the home or while you're there. It's getting back to a potential warranty call quick and actually showing up because they have a leak. Things can happen. We're not perfect either. So it's those things, truthfully, that I think, is what helped put Bumble on the map in LA. The customer experience, the accreditations, all that stuff to me is secondary. It's getting the easy things right. You'll already be better than 75% of your competition. And then once you get to that, the top of the totem pole, it's really, like I said, the accreditations, the warranties, which over the last 6 years we've built to really give the best possible package to all of our customers. So hopefully that wasn't too long, but that should answer the entire question of how I got to where I am today with Bumble.
No, that's awesome. I love that. And you even answered a few of my questions that I had after that, which makes it easy. But that's great. I love how you took an approach that you don't usually see in contracting, right? Like you said, there's a lot of things that are little, but if done right, can drastically set you apart from the competition that a lot of people don't think of. Answering the phone when someone calls, making sure you're prompt when someone reaches out, making sure, like you said, answering emails, getting back to people right away, making sure that you are responding in a professional and correct manner, right? Like very simple things that a lot of people don't think about. Which honestly, every time that I back when I used to do marketing, a lot of the times when we would see bad reviews come in or when we would see customer complaints come in, it would always be somewhere around one of those little things, right? You didn't clean up the yard. I tried calling and no one could, I haven't heard back for 4 days, simple things, right? And so I love that you took this approach and you took it at a time when not a lot of people were doing so. It's starting to get more popular, right? People are kind of realizing, especially now with increased competition, private equities coming in. There's a lot of variables that are contributing to the rapid advancement of the roofing industry. But you guys did this at a time when really no one was thinking like you were, which I think is impressive. One thing that I did want to ask is, where did the bee concept kind of come from? It's really unique. It's memorable. It kind of builds out the brand as itself, right? What's kind of the deeper story behind that?
Yeah, there's a much deeper story now. Now that I've learned about bees and pollinators and how they're on the verge of extinction. We sponsor a nonprofit called the Xerxes Society. We did a pretty large donation last year, which helps save our pollinators. But prior to really understanding, the name Bumble came before I knew that bees were on the verge of extinction and that 1/3 of the bites that we eat come from our pollinators. Prior to that, it was really just, let's find a cute mascot that gives people a fuzzy feeling. I'm really big on giving back as well. I think any organization, should be giving back to something that they hold near and dear to their heart, and to their mission. And so, while I could have, given money back to, a children's cancer, association that, I believe in as well. I think it's important for the story, the brand, everything to mesh very well together. And so the original concept, again, it came from just the idea of, we want to give people a fuzzy feeling, right? I could have launched a very successful roofing company and called it David and Sons Roofing, right? David and Sons Roofing Company, and we could have done well. But what is that? How does that help people remember you? People don't remember, names like that. People remember brands. People remember experiences, and so for us, it's not just Bumble Roofing, roofing the easy way. Which by the way, before we trademarked roofing the easy way, the idea was roofing in a buzz, like right, get your proposal quick and get the roofing installed really quick. But we play very, very well with our entire brand. Everything from our good, better, best packages. We call it our Honey Hive and Queen Bee. At the end of every single project, our franchisees have the opportunity to donate on the customer's behalf. We then send a post-product gift box to every one of our customers, which includes some Bumble merch and apparel, some personalized honeycomb, a thank you card, letting them know that their roof replacement actually helped save our pollinators. So I think all those little touch points, it really helps build a core memory, but also a raving fan. You can install the greatest product in the world. People aren't going to remember you a year or two later if you have a name like David and Sons Roofing, right, or George's Roofing Company. People remember memories. People remember experiences, and with our entire model, we put people through an experience. We don't just put them through a roofing project.
Yeah, I love that, and obviously you guys have it very well mapped out to exactly what happens at each stage of the project, and I love how you tie in not only the brand name to what you do, but also your activities. Like you said, you don't just donate to the Cancer Society just because, which wouldn't be a problem, but you donate to things that really matter to you guys and really have an impact on what you want the story to be about your brand, and you wrap that in everything, which is really cool. And it's something you see a lot in other industries, but again, you don't see a lot of that in construction in general. So that's really cool. You guys took that approach. I also want to tie back to something that you said previously of how you guys were one of the first adopters of the satellite measurements and kind of the digital estimation, which is still not mainstream, I would say, but it's gaining traction, right? What made you see technology and maybe that specific technology as an essential kind of tradition in Bumble for the industry?
Yeah, it wasn't so much technology. It was more of the sales process aspect. From my experience pre-Bumble, getting a quote for anything on your home is always a drag. If you call, and you could check this out in your market, and for our viewers and listeners, test me on this. Call out a few service providers in your area and look at how tough it is to get anybody out to your home to get a quote. I know, because I've been part of those organizations before. I had an organization prior to Bumble where we would ask for all decision makers to be there. We need at least 90 minutes to 2 hours of your time. In some cases, if you're interested in going financing route, we're going to do a soft credit check pull before we come out. Like it's hell getting a quote for some home service projects. And usually you're getting 2, 3, maybe 4 estimates. Some homeowners end up getting a lot more than that, but we can leave that for a different day. And that can drag out weeks, right? Where you can go online these days. In the past, like if you want to get a car, you would have to go into the dealership. But today you want to go get a car, you can go online, you can call the dealership, you can hop on a Zoom call, they can give you the quote. You can do the same thing for homes, right? You can go on Zillow, you can go on Redfin, you can find out what a home costs. You can put an offer in online. Why can't I get a quote for a home service product? Why can't I get a quote for something that's easy to measure without having somebody come out to the home? Now, we still have to go back out to look for things like extras that satellite imagery may not catch, like extra layers or access issues or shading. But overall, I should be able to give a quote that's 90% accurate, 95% accurate before I come out. We also have an instant quoting tool now on our website. We partnered up with Roofle, which you may have seen, which allows customers to get a range of what their project will cost before even speaking to anybody. Like those are the type of things, to me. Again, it's not so much being tech forward. It's putting ourselves in the customer's shoes and being customer forward. How do we make the customer's experience a lot easier, a lot more streamlined, and a lot more peaceful, if that makes sense?
Focusing on the problem to solve and then finding a tool to solve it instead of focusing on the tool and then finding a use case for it.
Exactly. Yeah. And you know, we're in Los Angeles. You know, I wouldn't speak the same about every other market that we're in, but any big market like Los Angeles, which is hustle and bustle, especially when it comes to a product like a roof, where you know you don't need usually all decision makers to be there to choose a roofing color, roofing shingle. This is not something people want to do. If I'm going to get if my engine blows and I have to go down to the body shop to, you know, and I have to spend $4,000 right now, I may call my wife to discuss the price really quick, but my wife's not interested in coming down to the body shop and see my options on the engine and what goes into it and the education that I'm going to, you know, get from a mechanic on it. Same thing goes for a roof, right? I think it's important, again, to have a follow-up process in place where if you do need to speak to all decision makers, it's there. I still ultimately think that when it comes to a big ticket purchase, all decision makers need to be involved, but all decision makers don't have to be involved in that entire process. And to me, that is the most important part of what we do differently is like, hey, we get it. It's a roof, right? You're in the situation. You woke up this morning. You have a leak from the storm that came over the weekend. You just want to get it fixed. Let us come out. Let us walk you through our process. Hopefully you see the value. You can, you know, take that value back to your husband, to your wife, to your significant other, and make a decision based on that. And if not, we'll come back on. We'll educate all the decision makers as we need to. But it doesn't. It just, the entire industry needs to wake up and understand that nobody is looking to spend hours and hours on end just to get an estimate.
Yeah. Yeah. No one has time for 2 hour long presentations or anything like that. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, we're happy to do it, right? We have
Right.
homeowners that want to, you know, understand the different components of a roofing system and why this roofing system is better than this roofing system and what the warranty looks like and what it means, et cetera, et cetera. But the majority of them don't. Right? Just give me a new roof over my head, help me understand why this package is better than this one, and let's get this done.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. When you were developing Bumble and when you were kind of in the weeds building it up, what moment did you think that this was going to be bigger than just LA? Like when did that come about?
That was before I even came up with the concept.
Okay.
To be honest, you know, I talk a lot about mindset and law of attraction. I'm really big on that. I built Bumble with that in mind. I knew I wanted a household name. As I mentioned, I wanted, you know, a mascot that makes people feel good. I wanted to build a customer experience that people remember and that we build raving fans from. So I knew from day one that this is, I'm building a brand that can potentially become the household name in roofing. And then it was really just driving that every single day and validating that in the Los Angeles market, which you may know, being in the industry, is not traditionally a roofing market. So, you know, I said, if I can validate this in Los Angeles, I can validate this anywhere else.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Was that always franchising or was it something else originally?
Yeah, no, pre-franchising, other franchising was Subway and Orange Theories.
Right.
I had no idea franchising was $1 trillion industry. And I still get surprised every single day. I've been in franchising now for a little over 2 years on the type of industries and businesses that end up franchising off. Ultimately, I think it takes 3 things for a franchise to be successful. It's a unit level economics, right? The numbers have to make sense. Branding is a huge one. If you want to become that household name, you have to have a brand. And number 3, support. What kind of support is the franchisor giving to the franchisees? But I've seen, now that I've been in the industry for 2.5 years, I've seen businesses that I didn't even know exist standalone that now exist franchising. So again, to answer your question, ultimately the plan was to always do it on my own. I was going to build a chain. The original plan about 2.5 years in was to open more locations throughout Southern California. I started reaching out to family and friends to raise some money and start opening up locations on my own, corporate-owned stores. As I started having those conversations, a good friend of mine ends up buying into a restoration business, which was a franchise. And that's when my eyes kind of lit up. and I started doing some research about franchising. I think franchising for me, especially in the industry that we're in local services, I think it makes the most sense. You see it now with all the private equity roll-ups of HVAC companies and roofing companies. I have a few buddies of mine in the HVAC space in LA. They sell off, the GM, the owner leaves after 6 months, these companies go under. What's the one thing that sets apart a local service company from the next local service company is the person leading it. And so with a local service company like Bumble Roofing, for example, we can be successful everywhere, but the person on ground floor needs to understand that market. How are people buying? Ultimately, people are buying you, right? People buy from people when it comes to their home. You got to get out there. You got to network. You got to know your people. I have something that I tell my franchisees is you want to make sure that once you're at the top of your game, everybody to the 5th degree of your network knows that you are in the roofing game now, right? And so once you've done that, you will reach, to, in my opinion, I'm not even there yet, but in my opinion, you will reach the ultimate form of success in your local home service business. So from that perspective, you know, I loved franchising. You have owners in every single location that have equity in the brand, whereas, you know, let's be real, a GM that's sitting in a nice, you know, office suite on the 40th floor from LA, from San Francisco, wherever else it may be, trying to run a national roofing company, not to say that it can't work, it can, doesn't have the same, like the only thing driving him every day, in my opinion, is the dollar signs. Whereas a franchise owner, it's not just the dollar signs, it's the freedom, right? It's being able to spend more time with your family, get to your son's baseball game, right? Get to your daughter's dance recital, be able to go out for vacation for 2 weeks, build something in your community. One of the biggest things for me is being able to build something that I know is feeding 100 other families throughout Southern California, including my employees, our vendors, our subs, right? So that to me is one of the biggest forms of success. And I personally don't see it long-term working as well if you're doing it the corporate route. So I love franchising for that reason.
Right. I've heard you talk about before how you really believe that the reason why a lot of the big corp organizations that are managed by, the 40th floor on this building is they go under in such a short period of time because they don't have that like it's not locally owned and operated. Like you said, there's not someone who has skin in the game, right? Like you mentioned equity, but like it's largely skin in the game, right? Like you said, these big companies, these big PE firms that just buy up these companies and do all these roll-ups for the numbers don't actually, like you said, they don't understand the market. They don't, for a million reasons. And they don't mind if one location goes under because they have 80 other ones that are feeding their portfolio. And for you guys, it's way different because you have people there that are owners, right? They're there as people, not only just managing a location of a big corporation, but they own that business, right? And they have ownership and equity and stake in what goes on there. And so that's
what goes on and ultimately what goes on in the brand, right? It's a corporate owned store. Like to most corporations, their customers are just numbers, right? They're numbers on a spreadsheet. With a franchise owner or a small business owner, whether it's a franchise or not, that's locally owned and operated, every customer is a relationship, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's like, I know that if I do a bad job on a customer and for whatever reason we decide not to respond to this customer, I have an office, they can come and show up, right? It's not just putting a review online. I may see them at a restaurant. I may see them at my kid's baseball game. Like those are the things that make a big difference in the overall care of your customers that are going to the local home service business.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I love that. And I love that philosophy too. Empower Brands and Bumble, that moment between the two of you was a really big moment. And I want you to talk a little bit about how that opportunity kind of came about.
So I'll back up a little bit. You asked me how I got into franchising, why I got into franchising. It was a buddy of mine buying into a restoration company.
Right.
The original plan was to do it completely on my own again. I never thought about bringing a partner in. It was really early on, right? I was about 3 years in. I'm like, does it make sense to bring a partner in? Not even a thought in my mind. And so originally I was speaking to a consulting firm that basically would come out. They have a huge resume of brands that they've helped franchise. They would come out to LA, spend about a month with me, and help me build this into a franchise, right? They would put all the systems in place. They would put the support in place to bring on my first couple of franchisees. Long story short, we're in talks for a couple of months back and forth, put in the back burner, come back, put in the back burner, come back. Finally get a DocuSign in my email. My attorney's reviewing the DocuSign. That week, I kid you not, that week that I get the DocuSign from them and I'm supposed to sign it, I get a call from the business broker who helped facilitate the sale of my last deal. I'm a big believer in God and that everything happens for a reason and that we're not in control of anything. And that week I get a call from my business broker and he's like, "Hey, David, what's going on? What are you up to these days?" Like, not much. I'm like, why is this guy even calling? Like something happened with the last deal from a few years ago. So I'm just checking with you. I have a few businesses up on Biz Buy Sell. Want to see if you're interested in buying anything. I'm like, no, Hook, I'm busy doing this with Bumble right now. He's like, oh, tell me about it. So I told him about it. I'm looking to start franchising. This is my next move. And maybe we can have a conversation in a couple of years once we have a couple of locations. And he goes, David, have you ever thought about bringing a partner in? I'm like, that was not a thought in my mind. What do you mean? He's like, well, what if I can bring you somebody that will help dump a lot of capital into the brand and help grow this franchise thing you're looking to do a lot quicker? I'm like, listen, that wasn't even a thought in my mind, but if you can find me a partner that has the experience, not just in franchising, but has the experience in franchising and home services, I'm happy to speak to them. So I signed a 90-day non-compete, which means I can't go to any other brokers. In the first 2 months or so, he brought over about 6 different buying groups, and Power Brands being one of them. And the rest is history. It was really a lot of that first sight with them. I saw immediately what their culture was like through their CEO, Scott Zide, who is today one of my mentors. You've met with Scott?
I haven't met him, but I follow him closely and I love him.
He is. I've met a lot of people in the industry throughout my 16-year career. And now in franchising the 2.5 years, there's not trying to do like a special shout out to get a raise because I won't, but that's not even the point. This guy is really top notch, humble. He's been there, right? And I think that's the biggest reason why Empower does so well is this guy was a franchisee out of college, right? He bought a couple of sub shops. He's been in the trenches. A lot of people, say that about me and a lot of the brand presidents as well, like Zach he'd been talking to. We've been in the trenches. We know what it takes to run a successful business. And Scott Zide knows just that, right? He knows that the number one thing that helps a business thrive, helps a business succeed, and helps a business scale is the people behind the business. And it all starts at the top, right? I take my hat off for my team at Bumble of LA, my team at American Improvers before. If it wasn't for them, I would not be where I am today, right? Obviously, it takes the right people in the right seats and the right leader in the right seat. But a big, huge part of it is the people. And Scott Zide knows how to find the right people, knows how to coach the right people, knows how to mentor the right people. And again, you can't get a better CEO from somebody that's started off on the bottom and worked his way to the top.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I was thinking to myself before this episode, actually, I was like, man, Scott's the next guy I got to get on here. I got to get Scott on the episode. I want to hear all of his stuff and how he's turned into Empower and all that cool stuff.
He's incredible.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. In the context of the franchise, I mean, you guys have grown pretty quickly. You've awarded, I think, over 70 territories in just a few years. But how did that feel going from being kind of a local market, thinking of, okay, I'll pop off a few locations here and there in Southern California, to going over 70 territories in such a short amount of time? I mean, like I told you before, I've even come in contact with some of them that were just starting up, I mean, a few years ago out on the East Coast. And it's really cool to see. How does that feel? What's the difference there?
Oh, it's wild. The feeling, it's it's like having a bunch of children. From the perspective, let me finish that sentence because it may come out the wrong way in the beginning. From the perspective that you have to care for these people every single day. At least for me, that's how it is. Like
Yeah.
in the past, all I cared about every single day was David's local business and making sure David reaches his financial goals, right?
Yeah.
Today, I have to make sure that every single person, I'm not just some brand president that rises in the corporate ladder, right? Like this is my brand. I want this thing to succeed. I want to see this thing become the household name I know it can. But more than that, these people believed in me. One of the initial conversations before they come out to our, confirmation day, E-Day that we call it, before they take that next step of the journey, their first couple of conversations are with me, the brand president, the founder. And so a big part of that buy-in is me. And so if, people are putting in their, 401ks, their life savings, leaving their corporate job that they've held for 10, 15 years and now investing into Bumble Roofing because they believed in my vision. They believe that my vision and my model can help them create their own goals, bring their own dreams to reality. There's really nothing more I can ask for. And before, it's funny, during the acquisition process, the due diligence process, I'm like, hell yeah, I'm going to sell and I'm just going to sit back and be a roofing consultant guy. I am working 10x harder than I've ever worked in my entire life. And I want to, like, there's passion behind it. Nobody makes me work this hard. I truly want to see every single franchisee succeed because again, they believed in what I sold them. They believed in what they saw. They believed in what they heard. Everything's completely true. No BS. Like it's 100% fact on what we built out here. And I love to see each and every single franchisee get to that same place as well. So I've taken a lot. It's been a lot more weight on my shoulders. Obviously, I don't have control on every single thing that happens in the day-to-day business, but we're doing everything that we possibly can to make sure that they not only feel supported but are supported across every single channel and department in their business. So, yeah, man, it's been a lot to take on, but that's what I signed up for.
Yeah. Yeah, I assume. And I think it's cool that you said that you're working 10 times harder, but I mean, it seems like it just from talking to you now that you're enjoying it a lot, maybe more than what you were, even though you're working harder because like you said, it feels like you have this clear vision and this clear path of success and you have all these wonderful people surrounding you that can help support that. And I bet that feels really cool.
Yeah, the closest thing I've ever had to that was like, a salesperson leaving like their old day job, right? A commission sales guy, then coming to work under my wing. But that's not the same, right? It's not other than time. They're not investing money into becoming a commission salesperson. Like this is like a much higher level of that. And it's like I will do anything in my power to make sure that these franchisees have all the tools that they need in order to succeed.
Yeah, that's awesome. What makes somebody an ideal franchisee in your guys' eyes?
I get that question asked a lot. So obviously, roofing experience is not a must, right? You can learn any trade in a couple of weeks. It's ongoing education. The initial basic training that you need, a couple of weeks, you're out in the field and you can talk roofing.
Right.
Ultimately, it's two things. I think in order to own any small business and be successful, you have to be somewhat outgoing, or at least be able to get out of your comfort zone. Most of the people who know me know that if you see me in a big setting, I'm usually the guy sitting in the corner with one or two friends. I'm not the loud guy. I'm not the outgoing guy. But when it comes to my business, I don't mind putting myself out there like I'm doing today. And the same thing, is what we look for in our franchisees. They have to have that trait where they can go out. They don't have to be the salesperson, right? We have a requirement where you have to bring a salesperson on board from day one. But you do have to feel comfortable enough to go out and speak to people about your business, right? Join networking groups. drive your truck to dinner, right? And wear your logo on your chest for that first year or two, so people can understand what you do. You're going golfing, talk to everybody about Bumble Roofing. Everywhere you go, you should be able to talk about what you're doing. And that's, again, goes back to what I mentioned before, is everybody in your network, to the fifth degree, should know about what you're doing and what your business is. And the only way to really do that is to be outgoing, to be charismatic, to be passionate, and to feel a little bit uncomfortable at times.
Yeah,
So
no,
that's, to
100%.
me, that's the number one trait. It's obviously hard for us to figure out if somebody has that trait,
Right.
only after a couple of conversations. So it is a question I bring up. I tell people, hey, we don't expect you to be the salesperson. We don't expect you to be the front-facing person in front of potential customers in that first 12 to 24-month period. There's a solution for that. But however, you are a business owner. And in order for that business to grow, you have to get back to that boots in the ground, grassroots type of way of thinking. And that's again, getting out there and meeting face to face with people, having conversations with people like you, talking to your network, talking to your kids, friends, parents at school, going to different events. That's truly what it takes.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. Especially for local. I mean, it's truly about who you know and how far can you spread the name in the local market. And there's so many ways you can do that. It's just, as many as you can. I think that's awesome. What are some of the markets that have surprised you the most in terms of, demand, cultural fit? Has there been any truly surprising markets you guys have awarded recently?
Yeah, there's definitely more than a few, but I'll talk about really our top three. So we have Tacoma up in Washington.
Nice.
He was surprised more so that his past business experience was in Amazon. He had no small business ownership experience. We did not think he would hit it out of the gates running like he did. He did, I think, 300,000 in his first 90 days. He's not even a year in. He's surpassed $1 million in revenue. His name is Clayton. You may have seen his videos online as well. So he's been a surprise for sure, especially being in a pretty competitive market on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Number two, shout out to Kristen, Colorado Springs, husband and wife team. Wife, Sammy, don't kill me, but wife is the face of the business. And she surprised us from I wouldn't say she surprised us because we knew from day one what type of business owner she would be, but she gets out there, she's gritty, she's determined, she's driving the business every single day in and day out in a very male dominant industry. It's nice to see that. Now we have more women coming into the system, which is exciting. We have another franchise owner in Denver, Colorado, which is a woman. And then we have Chicago, Illinois coming into the system soon as well, which is going to be woman owned. So, super excited about that. And then third would be Richard out of the Woodlands, which is bordering Houston in Texas. That one also over $1 million in his first year. The guy's absolutely crushing it, determined, no days off. There's not an hour throughout his day where he's not keeping busy. To me, that was a surprising one as well, because Texas, as you know, is a very competitive market in the roofing space, especially the Houston market.
Seriously.
To come out in your first year without having a name online and driving the amount of business that he did is again, when I say surprising, it's not that surprising if you knew who Richard was.
Right.
Ultimately, there's two things that help franchisees win. It's truly getting out there, not wasting a minute on the clock. Every single day you're either knocking doors, joining networking events, following up, learning, education, going down to your suppliers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then, like I said, that relentless drive. And then two, it's communication. The franchisees who communicate with us the most, support team, are the franchisees who win the most. And Richard and the rest of the ones that are ramping up quickly do those two things very, very well.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I've seen the trucks around for the Colorado Springs location. When I've been down in that way, I've seen their trucks around, and I was like,
waving down. Kristen's awesome. Shannon's awesome as well. If you're down towards Denver, you'll probably see Shannon also.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, they're both great keeps.
That's awesome. I would love to do some content with them if once the Denver operation gets going and the Colorado Springs operation, just like a shop tour or something. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, it's awesome. And they're once the snow settles down in Aspen, Colorado Springs has a pretty big project up in Aspen,
Oh, sick.
large metal roof. So if you want to, maybe go out there, interview them during that process, we can get you guys connected.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. I'd love to do that. I love meeting people and I love doing that sort of thing. So that'd be super sick. Um, you emphasize in a lot of other, articles and things that you've been a part of that you like turning customers into not just customers on a sheet, but lifelong raving fans, people that will consistently talk good about you and your business and the brand. What does that look like operationally? How do you actually do that in the day to day?
Wow. Again, I think a big part of it is just doing the things that are standard as a home service contractor, just doing those things right. And then of course going above and beyond, right? I have a rule in our LA office. If it's under $750, no questions asked.
Yeah.
If we have an issue at a job site, whether we did it or not, we're going out there and fixing it. I can't tell you how many situations, like to me, it's a cost of doing business, but I can't tell you how many situations over the last couple of years, right? A homeowner may not notice that their gutter was dislodged before we came to the house. A homeowner, coincidentally, we had this years ago. We never go into a homeowner's home, by the way, unless we have to go to the attic space, but we don't use bathrooms. If we have to bring a porta potty, we will, or we go off site. We had a lady say that we clogged her main sewer line by driving over her cemented driveway. I told my manager at that time, this was years ago before I had this rule. It was like, I think probably $500, $600 to send somebody out there. Like, just send a plumber out there. I'll take care of it. There's no reason, right? We got to understand that we're working in people's homes. And the second you get on their bad side, you can lose 1,000 customers, right, from that review. And so
Right.
to me, it's really, treat our customers as if we're Amazon. Obviously, we don't have that type of a pipeline, but if you think about it that way, maybe one day we can get to a one thousandth of that pipeline by doing the right thing in front of our customers, and ultimately that's it from that perspective. And then from the above and beyond perspective, it's you get a warranty call. Again, we're not perfect, right? But you get out there. Like we have, we had a pretty big storm come in over the last week in LA, and we get warranty calls. We're stopping everything that we're doing. Our project management team is going out and assessing these warranty calls before we take on new jobs. That comes first. Our past clients come before any new installs. It's that, I have a guy that we did out in Calabasas in my first year in business. I'll never forget this guy. Richard Lewis, older gentleman, perfect job from A through Z, no issues. The final day when we finish the work, he sends me an email late at night. Hey, David, just want to let you know your crew left 2 trash bags in my driveway full of debris. No big deal. Whenever you guys are in the area, I know you guys are done, just come by and pick it up. I check on my GPS on my phone. It's about 6 miles away. I hop in my car like at 9 p.m. At that time, I didn't have a truck. I think I was driving a Prius at that time. I throw it in my trunk. I find a commercial dumpster on the way home. I throw it in there. I get back home like at 9:30. I email him like, hey, Richard, just want to let you know it's taken care of. This guy was in shock and disbelief because of that tiny little gesture. He's like, this is what truly makes you different from all the other roofing companies. That guy ended up resulting in about 9 new roof replacements through referrals over the course of the next couple of years. He's, again, a raving fan. That little thing went a long way. So it's that. It's going out. Sometimes we go out to inspections. If it's just sealing up a pipe, guess what? You just got free sealant on a pipe. We're not going to charge you if it takes our guy 15 minutes to do something so quick and easy. Let us seal it for you, post a good review, and we'll be a better way. And those are the type of things, to me, outside of like the post job gift box and things like that. Those are the type of things that go a long way and build that raving fan pipeline.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. And I think that I like how you compare it to Amazon of like just being able to get it done and take it care of. And I think what holds a lot of people back, just from my experience, and it's not as in depth as yours, but from my experience, I think what holds a lot of owners and operators back from that level of service, especially when it comes to something like that sewer situation where for a fact you're not in the wrong, I think is ego, right? Like I think unfortunately, a lot of operators have an ego that they're fighting every single day And unfortunately, a lot of times it can get in the way of their business because they put that ego in front of their customers, right? And I understand it can be frustrating. I've dealt with it too. I was in sales for a long time in home service, and so I know that if you're standing there and you're like, God, this is the stupidest conversation I've ever had in my life, but I know that I can't do anything about it because these are our customers, right? Like at that point, it's just a trade off, and you have to have that emotional intelligence to know, like, okay, right now here, I'm going to be the bigger person because, as you said earlier in the episode, this is a service business, right? You are serving that customer, and no matter the situation, that is your job, right? Is to serve the customer. And so I think, unfortunately, like I said, a lot of egos get in the way of that. But at the end of the day, it's called a service business for a reason, right? And that's not just because you put people on a roof. That's because you're serving this person throughout the entire process.
Yeah, 100%. You hit the nail on the head. It's like I said, it's a cost of doing business. I have another saying that goes, the customer is always right, even if they're wrong.
Yeah.
And when you start thinking about it that way, the conversations, they end up being a lot different, right?
Yeah.
You can
Yeah.
go out to a warranty call where you had a leak, where you know for a fact it's not your fault. You could email the customer back and say, hey, Mr. Customer, we checked everything out. This was a leak that came through stucco. It has nothing to do with our roofing project. Sorry, good luck. Or you can say, hey, Mr. Customer, we came out, we checked it out. We think it's coming through the stucco. We want to perform a water test just to make sure if it is coming through the stucco, we have a vendor that we can come out and give you a price for it, right? There's two ways of saying things.
Yeah.
And then again, ultimately, if it is the stucco and the customer is still upset and it only costs a few $100, take care of it, right? Just move on. And it goes back to what you said. It's mostly ego. I've worked for a lot of these operators in the past where they're running 10, 20, $30 million home service businesses, and they end up crashing down because of their ego, because they don't want to go spend $500, or they want the customer to know that they're right and they're wrong.
Yeah.
And ultimately they're hurting your reputation.
Yeah, no, 100%. Over the past couple of years, especially since post COVID, roofing and construction in general, but roofing has gone through a lot of change. There's been a lot of stuff that's been happening. What do you see coming next that contractors really aren't ready for?
Robotics.
Interesting. Okay. Expand.
Yeah. So I'm a little bit weird when it comes to robotics and AI, and I think I don't think I go into these rabbit holes late at night. I truly think we're on a path that by 2030, maybe early 2031, 2032, robotics will take over a lot of these trades, meaning roofs will be installed by robots. You already see it happening. Shout out Dylan Crow, Renovate Robotics. They're working on their own robot, but it's not just them, right? You've seen Elon Musk's Tesla bots. Like, these things are supposedly going to be able to perform surgery. Why can't they replace a roof? Why can't they hang drywall, right? And so from an insurance standpoint, a workers' comp standpoint, a quality assurance standpoint, I think you're going to get a much better product installed. It's going to take time, but it's only 2026. Not even yet, but in a couple of months of 2026, I don't see how at the rate of growth for AI and robotics, I don't see how 4 years from now, robotics aren't doing most of the trades that are, one, dangerous, and two, cookie cutter, right? Like a traditional roofing system can be torn off and installed by a robot. Like, ultimately it's not rocket science. So that's where I see it going. I do not think most people are ready for that. I think a lot of the people who are stuck in the past are still going to think that my guys can do it better and my guys can do it quicker, and probably maybe in the beginning, but eventually robots are going to take over most of the day-to-day tasks that we don't want to do, and construction trades are going to be one of them. So to me, that's the biggest thing. People always ask me, do you think AI is going to take over our industry? I think there are certain aspects where AI and robotics do. Ultimately, I think sales is an industry, at least the way I see it, that is not going away from the human to human connection standpoint for a very long time.
Right.
We've tested a lot of AI answering bot services. and I know it's not quite there yet, but AI, at least right now, doesn't have the emotional intelligence of a human, right? And so
Yeah.
when I'm purchasing something, especially for my home, I want to be able to connect with that person. I want to have a good gut feeling that the company I'm moving forward with and the person representing that company just make me feel at peace, make me feel at
Yeah.
ease. And again, I may be wrong and I may come back on this statement a couple of years from now, but I don't see that happening with a robot, right? I think ultimately the sale is still going to have to be done by humans. People are still going to want that human connection. You're actually seeing more of that now, right? A lot of people are trying to get off the screens and trying to get away from AI and trying to go back to, living like we did back in the 90s and early 2000s. But ultimately, I think robots are going to be a big piece of this industry, and I can't wait for that time to come, to be quite honest.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's going to be a lot more broad and a lot bigger of a deal than what a lot of people are placing on it now. And I think that, ChatGPT in the form that we see it today officially launched in 2022. And it's only been 3 years since then. And just look at how fast we've moved in 3 years. And so I think that it's only going to start to get faster. And it's only going to start to get, like I said, more broad. Obviously, generative AI, that thing that has kind of come and gone and had its thing. And now agentic AI is the big deal, doing tasks, completing things. And then, like you said, I think the next step after that is robotic AI, right? AI being able to do human tasks in physical locations instead of being subject to a computer screen. We see that already. Neo came out with their AI robot like, a couple months ago or whatever, or a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I
That's
actually
supposed to
put the pause
handle.
into that thing and I want it back after I saw how it actually works.
Yeah. It's like, okay, you guys are, that's not,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
actually doing how it should
yeah.
be.
It's a dude watching through a camera from a
Yeah.
different country.
It's like, okay, less
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah. And I agree that the sale in and of itself is definitely going to move even more towards humanizing the sale more and more. But what are your thoughts on like pre-sale, right? Because obviously there's a lot of tools out there nowadays, no bias included here, that can help automate, the answering of the phones and responding quickly to leads that when they first come in, and having, doing the follow-up and customer updates and things like that. Where do you see AI playing a role there? And do you agree with it or do you not agree with it?
yeah. And I think even today, AI plays a huge role in there. I
Mm-hmm.
don't think anybody's quite figured it out. Again, from the emotional intelligence standpoint, I
Mm-hmm.
think when you're working on people's homes, that very first initial conversation, there has to be some emotional intelligence there. Every
Right.
conversation is unique, whether you're selling HVAC, roofing, windows, and you have to be. There's some instances where you have to be empathetic.
Right.
Maybe speaking to an older gentleman or lady that you have to maybe speak a little bit lighter and slower. Maybe somebody with an accent where you have to comprehend what they're saying and speak slower for them. There's some
Right.
people who are upset when they hop on the phone with you and you have to, kind of try to slow down their emotions and bring that down. So again, if you're just trying to fill in a form fill and take the customer to the next step, fine. But I know a huge part of that sale is that initial conversation. That
Yeah.
that first conversation a homeowner has with a live rep is going to ultimately determine whether you get that sale or not. People may not
Mm.
understand that. Whether you're
Yeah.
knocking the door, whether you're cold calling, or whether it's an inbound lead that comes from whatever source, that initial conversation has to hit home. And I
Yeah.
don't think we're in a place today that homeowners get that sense of feeling from an AI. I've spoken to several
Mm-hmm.
AI bots. I've tested some for Bumble Valet. I've spoken to large corporations that utilize them. I freaking hate it. I'm the guy pressing zero. Like, give me a live rep. I don't care if they have an accent from
Right.
overseas. I want a live rep that could just get through, and that's perfect, and that understands what I'm looking for. So I
Yeah.
think again, I do I think it'll get there? Hell yeah! Like I'm huge on AI and where it's going. I just don't think it's quite there yet. And again, if you want to set your salespeople up for success, and you want to set your customers up for success, you want to make sure that there's some emotional intelligence in the background that can weave through these different types of conversations and people.
I agree. And I think even as a developer of that exact tool, I think that I always tell my clients that it should not be, in my opinion, some people disagree, and we have clients that don't follow this advice, but it should not be your front office, right? Like, it should not be replacing your front office. It should be an addition to, right? Like, exactly. you shouldn't have your office staff no longer answering the phone because you have this tool. The point is to use this tool as practically a better version of a call center, right?
Yep.
To fill in the gaps where humans, because I mean, we're humans, right? Everyone makes mistakes. And so the point of this tool is to fill in those gaps where humans make mistakes all the time and have it be done consistently, and have that the customer experience be consistent every single time that AI answers the phone, right? And so I think that is, I think that's the best use case for it, at least for right now, because I agree. I think if I call somebody at Saturday, it's Saturday and it's 6 p.m. and I get an AI that answers the phone, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But if I'm calling and it's at 10 a.m. and it's a Tuesday and like people are in the office, I expect someone to answer the phone, right? My question that I want to pose to you, and I know we're at time here and we'll wrap up here in a second, but my question along those lines then is, do you think that, unfortunately, a lot of people in our industry still are struggling with the simple fact of answering the phone, right? Like, I think that in my experience, I've come across a lot of contractors who they invest in a tool like this because they are still struggling with the fact that they can't get to the phone every single time, and they don't have the human capital to be consistently following up with these leads. And so, although yes, it's not perfect, and although yes, it's not the ideal situation and Skittles and rainbows, but it's better than not getting in touch with that customer at all. Would you agree there, or would you pose a
I agree wholeheartedly. Would you rather have 0% of 100, or would you rather have 25% of 100? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's how I see it. Yes, if you're an owner operator, you're a small mom and pop shop, your son may be answering the phone 3 hours a day after school, and then on the other regular office hours you're out in the field and you can't answer the phone all the time. Yes, you have to have something in place, and I do think that AI is better than a traditional answering service, although a traditional answering service is going to be a human. A lot of times, again, they don't understand the brand values. They don't understand the vision and the mission.
Yeah.
And they're screwing it up a lot more than an AI. Whereas with an AI, you're telling it what to say, you're teaching it how to say. So yeah, I think from that perspective, 1000%, you definitely should have something in place. But just like you said before, if you have the capital, if you have the people in place, I'd rather have somebody answering the phone 24/7 if possible.
Right. And that's always the ideal, right? But unfortunately, just for a lot of people, that's just not the case. But a tradition that we have here on the podcast is a little bit of a rapid fire question to wrap it up. So we do 3 rapid fires. And so it's just quick answers, quick questions. So we'll run it off with this first one.
Putting you on the spot.
Yeah. Really testing your knowledge here. What is some of the worst common advice that you hear in roofing?
So I don't give this advice, obviously, but the bigger the ticket, the more you should fight for the job, I guess. I don't think bigger tickets always mean an easy process. If you're not set up for that type of operations just yet, you should not jump on big projects. So I remember initially when I first launched, one of my suppliers said, "Hey, David, you should," and this is my first year, "you should go after commercial projects, big projects, blah, blah. It's just the same as small projects." I found out very quick and with a very big insurance claim that is not the case, because I had no clue what I was doing on the very, very big roof. Start small, don't go big, because you can lose everything overnight if you are not doing it the right way.
Smart. Second one, what is your favorite part about franchising?
Changing people's lives.
Love that. And then last one, closing out here, where can people go to learn more about you and also Bumble Roofing if they're interested in franchising?
Yeah. So to learn about me, I don't have like a specific website, but if you want to learn about Bumble Roofing, you can go on bumbleroofingfranchising.com. If you want to learn about the franchising, if you just want to get a new roof, and we're available in one of your markets, bumbleroofing.com. From there, you can check your location, see if we have a franchise location there to get a roofing and repair quote or replacement. You can also go to a Power Brands. Power Brands website is
I think it's a Power Brands. Yeah.
Yep.
There you go.
Powerfranchising.com. And if you want to get personal, you can always email me at david@bumbleroofing.com.
There you go, David. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. Thank you for allowing us some of your time. And we hope to talk to you very soon.
George, thanks for having me. Talk soon.